Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, and we have a special edition before tonight's show, as we are going to have a 1-hour conversation with Lee Strauss, Science Bob, and Olaf Phillips over the breaking news of President Donald Trump announcing today that he is going to ask for the UFO/UAP files be released. This is historic. We don't know if it's a cover-up. We don't know how far this is going to go, but we are going to get into it right now. Let's bring in our panel. There's Lee Strauss. Always good to see you, my friend. And Science Bob and Olaf Phillips. Good to have you guys here. I want to start off by playing a little bit of audio, guys, because I don't know about you, but I think we were all a little bit caught off guard by journalist Peter Doocy asking the UFO question to President Donald Trump. And I don't even think Peter Doocy was prepared for this answer.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed
Let me try and get some better audio on this, guys. Just give me 2 seconds here.
I would have looked up China and Russia. They've been invited. Yeah.
Something that got a lot
You
of
need both. You need all persuasions. No discrimination.
something that got a lot of attention. Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know.
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you, he gave classified information. He's
I apologize, guys. Here we go.
not supposed to be doing that. Well, he made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, if the president can declassify anything that he wants to,
Well,
so if you
maybe I'll
want to
get
make
him
an
out of trouble.
announcement.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal aliens are real.
Yeah, illegal. Only illegals. What else?
Based on what you've been told, what do you think happened?
All right. I want to get to our panel right off the bat here regarding this as we bring in Science Bob. I want to get to you first on this. I mean, this is happening on Air Force One, where reporter Peter Doocy, who flies with the president, asks about the Obama comment when former President Barack Obama on a podcast recently was asked the alien question, and he says, yeah, aliens are real. I mean, take us back to that moment where you saw that, Bob, and then, hearing Barack Obama saying that, and now today's follow-up.
Well, first of all, I was shocked out of my jock when Obama said, what is, in fact, a classified fact if he learned it when he was president. His duty to keep that stuff controlled and undisclosed is lifelong. Okay, so I spent decades dealing with classified information. And a thing you are forbidden to do in every security class, every security briefing, every time they mention anything about security, the one thing you do not do especially if you're president of the United States, is confirm the release of classified information. He just told the world that what Obama said was true.
There's a prison sentence, by the way. Sorry to
It's an
interrupt, Bob.
absolute prison sentence. He cannot be charged with a crime while in the commission of his duties because of the Supreme Court decision. So he has just unclassified that stuff, and then he came out and said he was going to bring it all out, and then he blasted the world with what looks like an impending executive order as a final follow-up.
Olaf Phillips, let's get your opinion on today's announcement.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know what Science Bob said was absolutely right. I mean, in the nigh on 10 years that I've dealt with classed information, you know, it's a lifelong thing. I can't tell you, just like Bob can't tell you what, you know, we heard or saw or felt or really anything. It comes with a lengthy prison sentence, and federal prison is not where I want to be. Thank you very much. You know, what Obama said, you know, Clinton said the same thing, you know, Reagan made statements, Carter actually filed a UFO report with MUFON. You know, Trump is a guy that needs to outdo everybody. So if Obama says, yeah, you know, aliens, he was very careful, by the way. He said aliens are real, not UFOs. So that's a distinction that I think is important to point out. Right. And then he followed it up by saying, you know, basically he used the Drake equation to justify saying that. So I don't think that anybody's going after him for anything. But the Trump thing, you know, I think it's dual headed. I mean, like many things with Donald Trump, it's a hydra. I think on one hand, he is going to outdo Obama because he villainizes him so much. So it's like if Obama comes out and says, I think aliens are real, you know, my capacity as a American citizen, which is basically what he did. He said, I think their aliens are real. Here's a mathematical equation that he, you know, discussed the next day. But, you know, Trump's going to come back and go, I'm going to sue him. I'm going to put him in jail. And then he's going to go, I'm going to just release everything. Fuck it. Sorry. You know, well, we're not in the air. Fuck it. I'm going to release everything. That's kind of his MO. But there's something more. Yeah. But there's something more important at work here, right? That if you go on AirNav 24 and you watch, it's very clear that there is a absolute train of C-17s flying into Saudi Arabia.
I'm telling you, we are about to go to major war with Iran. They are in trouble.
Last night, I watched 10 Saudi Aramco helicopters hovering at anywhere from 200 feet to 25 feet off the deck in the middle of the Persian Gulf, while there was an Italian signals intelligence plane doing circles. And right now in Qatar or Qatar, I'm old school, I pronounce it wrong, but in Qatar, there is a Eurofighter that is flying at 100 miles an hour at 11,000 feet, flying in a circle 1 mile in diameter. Now
it's a racetrack. They're doing SIGINT and Elon.
Yeah, that plane is not a Eurofighter because it's below stall speed. It would crash. So it's obviously transmitting something that is it's spoofing what it actually is. But last night, after those helicopters and a bunch more that were in the eastern part of the Persian Gulf, which is shut down, by the way, after they hung out with another C-130 that flew right past them, right? You know, after that, there was an MQ-9, a Triton drone
Reaper.
that no, it wasn't a Reaper, it was a Triton. So maybe it's an MQ-6, I forget, but it's a Triton, which is generally a naval high altitude drone flying at almost 50,000 feet, flew into the Persian Gulf and headed toward the coast of Iran. So I think the other part of this is, you know, with at least the 12 or 14 C-17s that I've seen fly in and out, plus tankers into the Middle East, I would anticipate that tomorrow or Saturday, there's going to be a hail of cruise missiles heading towards Iran.
But just let me follow up on that. There were explosions all over Iran today.
Well, I think I saw the helicopters that delivered the direct action people that probably did them.
Yeah, this was definitely special forces.
Let's bring in Lee Strauss here from Element 115 on our Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel. Lee, I know this kind of caught everybody off guard. What was your thoughts when all of a sudden you heard the announcement?
Well, as most of you guys know, most everybody in the audience, Truman was the first one to bring out the subject of UFOs publicly. And listening back a month and a half ago, we started to hear whispers that Trump might come out with something. So I'm wondering if Obama kind of didn't just, put his foot in it on purpose to kind of stir up the hornet's nest, so to speak. So I think it's very possible that that's what happened, and almost egging Trump on to say something and to do something.
Yeah, but
especially with Brian Taylor Greene, because they hate him.
Yeah.
Oh, they hate him.
But the depth, though, I don't think you're going to see the depth. I mean, every time something like this happens, everybody runs out and says, well, they're going to release everything. I always pointed out to Dave on the show. I say, look, years ago, there was a incident with Art Bell where, what's his name? John Lear came on the show, and Art Bell's like, okay, and this is old. Art Bell's like, okay, lay it on me. Give me disclosure, John Lear, who's connected to everybody. And Lear says, you don't want disclosure. And Art Bell says, well, of course I do. It's going to be great. And so John Lear says, let me try it out on you. And Art Bell says, okay. And so for about half an hour, 40 minutes, like Lear just goes and goes. And some of Lear's stuff is really bizarre. Like, when there's a soul catcher on the far side of the moon and stuff that I cannot buy into, but still he goes and goes and goes and goes with the conventional stuff that all four of us know. Right. And when he gets done, he tells Art Bell, he says, so Art, what do you think? You want disclosure? And Art Bell's like, no, I really don't. But I do think that they'll release something, but not anything in any kind of depth, not what you want. But I also believe it's a distraction.
It may be definitely a distraction. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and there's much more to come out. But check this out. I believe what's going on here is, yes, possibly a distraction, but there's more to this, right? They want to control the narrative. There might be some other things that are coming out, and they want to steer this the way they need to steer it for their purposes.
Well, let's go back in time just a few days ago when Lara Trump actually had some words to say about this on her podcast, and she was interviewed by the New York Times or New York Post, I believe. And we're going to get to this right now.
We've kind of asked my father-in-law about this because we're like, well, what do you know? Because Miranda, we all want to know about the UFOs, or we all want to know what's going on. And he played a little coy with us. And so that, of course, led us to believe, Eric and I were like, oh my gosh, if he won't even fully tell us, maybe there's more to it. And then I have just heard kind of around that, I think he's actually said, I think my father-in-law's actually said it, that there is some speech that he has that I guess at the right time, and I don't know when the right time is, he's going to break out and talk about, and it has to do with maybe some sort of extraterrestrial life, so to speak.
So does the president act as if he believes there are UFOs and that this is going to be some momentous announcement, or is it just, a casual observation that there might be something out there?
It's a good question. I mean, he's kind of been very cool about it. Whenever I've heard this come up about this possible speech, and when Eric asked him, he just, knowing him as well as I do, the way he says things, they make a difference sometimes. And he's been a little different about this one. So it makes me personally think that there's something that he knows that the rest of us don't know. And so I'll let people determine for themselves whatever that means. But yeah, it makes me think there's more to come.
Well, that's a very interesting statement, that there could be more to come. And this also comes on the heels of a United Kingdom documentarian and former guest on Spaced Out Radio just a few months ago, Mark Christopher Lee, who broke this apparent disclosure that Trump was going to come out with this First, it was July 8th. That would have been the 79th anniversary of Roswell, Bob. And then that date got moved up to May 1st. He said he was going to have a press conference with his source that was close to the White House, and that the source was going to come public in that press conference. And now Obama comes out and says aliens are real. He believes they are real. And now we have this. It's a weird timeline over the last month here regarding this subject. I didn't believe any of this. And yes, you can look at Iran. You could look at what's happening between UK or Ukraine and Russia. You could look at all the other weird hotspots, the Epstein files. We could throw anything into this, Bob. But in the end, this is the subject that we love. This is the subject that interests us. Your thoughts on it all?
Okay, so I'm going to sign a note of caution. I'm happy that all this stuff is being said. But here's my note of caution. The exact text of his post on Truth Social enables a study to be done of what to release. That can go on for a decade.
Well, let's read that post right now, Bob. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects. And I'm just going to pat myself on the back here for a second, because I was the one from the beginning telling everybody there is a big difference between UAP and UFOs. The president says it in this tweet. He goes on to say, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. Thoughts, gentlemen? Lee, let's start with you.
Well, I think we're in for some news. Obviously, it's going to be slanted and tilted a certain way because they don't want the exact truth out, because I do think it would hurt not only the American public, but the whole world. We all have our beliefs and our religions, and if they start pulling threads, like I've said before, you start pulling threads, and the thing that's underneath, you don't want to see that, because it's just going to do damage.
Well, I'm looking at this report all over social media. Every major news outlet right now, gentlemen, is covering this subject. Okay, Olaf Phillips, let's get your thoughts on this this post by President Trump on Truth Social.
Well, I think we need to look at it in context, right? If Laura Trump is talking about conversations with Eric Trump and Donald Trump about this stuff, she didn't just do that. They're not going to spit without his approval, right? So this is a calculated thing. And frankly, doing a study of what should be released, Trump's already done that once. Obama did that, Clinton did that, Reagan did that, W did that. I mean, they all do that. And even the Catholic Church, probably about a decade ago, came out and said, oh yeah, aliens are real and they believe in Jesus too. So I think, yeah, that super secret speech, maybe, I think there might be something to this. I'm going to have yet another study done of what can be released and what can't be released. But I do agree that I do agree that there's a very clear difference between UAPs and UFOs. And I think it'll probably focus on UAPs, which I believe are terrestrial in origin. Some of that stuff is ours. And he may come out and say some of this. I mean, he himself has released classified material in speeches and photographs of, that compromised our capabilities as far as satellite photography and ELINT and SIGINT. So he may come out and say, some of these UAPs are ours, and rah America, Canada, you guys get it by proxy, and just bury it some more. But I do honestly believe that the timing is very suspect, because as we just heard, there are reported explosions across Iran, right? That they've been bringing in munitions, obviously. I mean, you've got Andrew just got arrested today, first member of the royal family to be arrested in England since 1647, right? there's a lot of stuff going on, and I do think that at least part of this. Before I run out of time, remember when you talk about disinformation, right? That disinformation is fake. It's fake news or propaganda or whatever you want to call it. But within all disinformation, there is what they call the golden thread. And that golden thread is real. And that golden thread may very well be that UFOs are real or UAPs are real or whatever. But I still think that there's a lot of distraction here because he's not going to release anything. Nobody else has ever released anything. I mean, Clinton looked into it. Clinton shows up and goes, tell me about Roswell. Obama shows up and says, I want to go to Area 51. I mean, these are things that are very well known. And it's so compartmentalized that I don't think he has anything to release that's recent within the last, say, 20 years.
The question is, what do they release? Where are they going with this? What's the plan?
Well, what did they do last time? They had a congressional hearing, right? And they said, well, the Tic Tac video is real, but here, look at this other thermal video of something with really weird flight dynamics. I mean, they've already done this a few times.
I understand that. But we also know that the Trump boys have an affinity and a love for Roswell. And that's why it was surmised that this may happen on July 8th of this year, the 79th anniversary. Bob, I see you smirking here. What do you see happening? What can they disclose, if anything?
I believe, so I'm going to view this from the lens of what is known of Trump's personality. It will not be wasted on him that every news outlet on the planet is covering this today. He will wish to take maximal advantage of that. If he doesn't hold up a picture of a flying saucer and an alien, I'll be surprised because he wants
maybe
to
with him
the news
in front.
He wants to dominate the news because all he cares about is being on the front page of every news thing in the world. He might finally get his face on Time magazine for real with an alien by him.
And a Nobel Prize. He could
And
get
a Nobel Prize. I mean,
Peace Prize for making use of the aliens.
Everything that Trump's on. I believe he's going to do more than you hope. Now, that's not me loving it or anything else. It's just I believe he will do a lot to stay at the top of the news in a positive way.
Now, here's the big question. If this is any type of disclosure, okay, has this got the ball rolling on regular disclosure, or are we looking at a catastrophic disclosure event, Lee?
I do not think we're looking at a catastrophic event. No, he's probably just going to come out with something small and short. Still, we're going to sit there and wonder and talk about it just like we are right now. Just remember what was said. His speech has already been written. So not only that, this all stems back. I think it was Ross Coulthart that came out and said that Trump was at Davos and he talked to other world leaders and they all discussed the possibility of releasing this information. And they said it was okay to do. So that's another report that I did here. But like you said, I think it's going to be, it's going to be put down into such a small box and a couple sound bites. And that's all we're going to hear about it for a while.
I would agree with you on that. And Olaf, you think that this could be tantamount to a cover-up, okay, to take away from more pressing issues around the world right now. But a lot of politicians right now are jumping on this bandwagon. I've been going through tweets from everybody from Pete Hesketh to Anna Paulina Luna, who runs the Conspiracy Club. Nancy Mace has just released a giant 2-page letter stating this is what Congress needs to see. And she actually listed it on her X page. I've retweeted it at Spaced Out Radio if you want to get out there and read it. But just your thoughts of all these politicians, they seem pretty excited that this is actually happening.
They're always excited. It's like they'll take any morsel and run with it because so much of the population around the world, right, believes that there's some kind of a conspiracy about UFOs, me included, right? That believes that there's some kind of conspiracy cover up about UFOs and other stuff. So of course, and you have to go back to what my fellow panelists point out, both of them, that this speech was already written. So he was looking for maximal timing. And he's, I think that Obama kind of probably lit the fuse. So there's some kind, he has to outdo Obama. And he knows that, even because one thing, I'm not a fan of the man, but one thing that we do know 100% is that he knows how to play the media. And as my other panelists have pointed out, that even if it's in the bigger scheme of things, it's not a catastrophic disclosure, it's something very minor, everybody's going to latch onto it. He'll be on the 24-hour news clock from now into oblivion talking about it.
Could you imagine the work he has caused for the Pentagon's light and shining armor?
I think he's working
Susan
the
Goff?
Pentagon.
Bob,
I think he's working
what
them
is
pretty
Susan
hard.
Goff going through right now with this announcement?
I wish we had a different Secretary of War.
A real one.
A real one. Not a dry drunk. Sorry, I didn't say that.
Journalist.
But Susan Goff has been the Pentagon spokesperson. She's their PR person, and she has been steadfast to try and shut this topic down.
He really has.
I mean, she's probably sitting there saying, what the hell is going on right now? What the?
I wish other people could have been me, a fly on the wall at Hayden's Center, and where she was in there standing a few inches from our former leader of Arrow, making sure he stayed in line, and then followed him out so no one would mess with him. She was like a till of the Hun, staring at everybody, daring them to come anywhere near him. She's amazing.
I think this is absolutely, caused a fire in the field. I mean,
it's a fire. It's a
it
fire.
is
This
brush
really
fire.
this could turn into the conflagration that brings a bunch of stuff out. We will see. Now, look, if I were whistleblowers and people who wanted to talk, this would be the prime moment to jump on TV and say, okay, we're here to tell our secrets, because nobody can touch them right now. The secrets are very vulnerable if they decide to come out en masse. They could do it. And I encourage you to do it if you're listening.
What does this say about all of the skeptics out there? Okay, the people who've been shooting this down, from scientists to like Neil deGrasse Tyson, to skeptics like Mick West, who is already on X calling this a nothing burger, and they are right to have their opinion. I'm not shooting down their opinion, okay, because everybody has a right to their opinion. But what does this say about the skeptical side, Lee, in regards to them who have denied, or journalists who have denied covering this subject, and news outlets and scientists and everybody kind of getting involved to keep that tinfoil hat conspiracy way off to the side? We don't want to go there. And yet, bam, right now it's been punched right in their face.
Well, that's the case too. I believe that a lot of those people were probably getting paid by other groups within the government to either say nothing at all, or, like Mick West, to everything, every video or in every picture that he ever sees, to, call it a temperature inversion or whatever the case may be. He always comes up with this, well, it's a hot air balloon or this or that. Even if he really does believe that maybe something is going on, he's not going to tell anybody, because that's not his job to do that. His job is to make sure that people look at it and go, oh yeah, it's just, it's not real. It's something that doesn't, exist, or how he does his thing. It's maddening. But now he's put in a pickle. He really is. And that's good to see.
I want to know where we're going to go with this. I mean, I really don't think that we are going to get any sort of disclosure. Aliens are here on Earth. We have their ships. We have their bodies. I don't think we're going to go there. Maybe I'm being a little bit naive. I don't want to sound pessimistic because I love this topic. We've been pushing for this disclosure. I've never thought we'd even get this far, and yet here we are. But what do you think, Olaf, that we can expect out of this? Is it just going to be an announcement of saying we're opening up the files and then we see a bunch of black lines that are redacted on paper? Or do you think we're actually going to get something that is actual of non-human creation rather than UAP?
I think you're going to get an executive order that orders, yet again, I might add, orders another analysis of all the files for anything. I think you're going to get an intimation that there might be something out there that's not human. I think you're going to get just enough to fire up the whirlwind, right? And to Science Bob's point, you know, I think this is a brush fire, and what that means is that the field is on fire. They're going to drop flame retardant on it and try to put it out, or at least it's a controlled burn. And whether it expands to a forest fire, right, is really dependent on the reaction. Now, if it really goes apeshit and everything just catches on fire with it, you know, Trump is going to release more, right? Because as Bob, I think it was Bob pointed out, Lee, that you know, he'll be man of the year on Time Magazine if he releases XYZ. So I think what you're going to get is breadcrumbs. And it's a trial balloon.
I want to add that I think that if President Trump, if you're listening to me, and I know you don't, but I want you to listen, please, sign an executive order allowing people to escape their non-disclosure agreements and testify in a skiff to Congress. Release them from these NDAs. That'll fix it.
Yeah, and not only NDAs, right? That's only part of your problem. NDAs are pretty low level. These guys need to be released from their Q clearances and their TSSCI, TS Poly, you know, be given permission to read in the Congress as far as what they know. But even then, it's highly compartmentalized. You're not going to get a lot.
I want to focus on the UAP aspect of this. My critics, I know you're going to dislike what I say about this, but I've always been staunch about the fact that UAP are man-made objects and UFOs are not. We've seen that in Donald Trump's posting on Truth Social today when he delineated between the two. Now, a lot of people will say I'm reading between the lines on that, but
you are.
Let's look at this for a second. Bob, I want to get your point on this. If they disclose the UAP aspect of everything, we could be in for a technological revolution for humanity, because we know the military and the military industrial complex gets all the toys. If they release some of those toys under the UAP aspect, what could we all of a sudden see technologically that could benefit regular common folk like our audience, you, me, this panel?
So imagine being able to step on a craft and be anywhere in the world in a few seconds. So, and be able to nullify the impact of gravity by zeroing out inertia. Suddenly it becomes 0 ergs of energy or thereabouts to move anything you want anywhere in the world. So logistics is solved forever. Let's suppose that thing we're flying in needs energy to do stuff for a long, long time. And so they don't have a nuclear reactor on it. So what that says is there's free energy source of some type inside these craft that make it have 0 inertia and able to move quickly any place in the world without having anything like mass be a consideration. Everything in the world will change so dramatically we won't recognize it from the day before.
I would agree with you. And Leah, let's get your opinion on that.
Well, what I was thinking about is the fact that if we're going to war, maybe we do have some of this tech and we're going to be using it. And they may need a scapegoat at that time for some of the stuff that we do with said UFOs or whatever, man-made UFOs. So maybe they're going to use that tech, and people are going to see it and take pictures of it and video it and all that. So maybe that's part of this whole disclosure thing right now. That Trump knew that we were going to go to war and we were going to use this technology.
It's amazing how many people are tweeting about this right now. This subject is blowing up X like anything. Olaf, let's get to you on this. Same question that I asked Bob and Lee. What is your opinion on what could come out of the UAP side of this, which are man-made objects?
Well, I tend to agree with both of them, especially Bob on this. One thing that does do, as far as the dynamic, is that, if he comes out and says, okay, these UAPs with these electrogravitic and zero inertia vehicles, these are ours. I cleared it with everybody else in NATO. We're willing to talk about it now. That sends a message to the Chinese and the Russians of don't screw with us. We have technology far beyond your hypersonic missiles, right? And so from that point of view, I could see him releasing that, saying, don't screw around with us. We have technology that you can't even fathom. If you attack us, we'll annihilate you, kind of talk. Getting that into the public sector is a very slow process, right? Because it is a national security capability. So there will be a lot of studies that are done by RTX, Lockheed, Boeing, about how you release this into the commercial space, because once it's released in the commercial space, you will lose control of it. But you could see other things like cold fusion. I mean, we've been after cold fusion for the last 50 years. Maybe these vehicles use some kind of cold fusion system, right? But I could very well, I didn't think about that, but I could very well see him coming out and with a little bit of detail, not enough to really, just enough to scare our neighbors, say, hey, look, we have these advanced vehicles that are unmanned. We have the capability to deliver a fairly large payload of unhappiness on you within minutes. I mean, the flight time for a nuclear weapon is 15 minutes from launch to detonation.
Now
right?
0 microseconds.
Yeah, now it's like 3 minutes. Like we can send over a nuclear bomb and hover it over in Moscow in 60 seconds. I mean, it's going to change the world dynamic, and that absolutely fits into what the other panelists are saying about his psychology, right? So yeah, I mean, that very well could be what it is he comes out and says these UAPs are fantastical and they're ours and they're part of NATO, because what Marco Rubio said, hey, it's time to kiss and make up Europe. We don't want to be all in NATO, but we'll be part of NATO. That's a definite deterrent, right? So yeah, that's probably honestly what he's going to do. And he's going to tell the Iranians at the same time, right?
Well, I mean, could we see some of these controversial topics confirmed? TR3
Sure.
black triangles, maybe the SR-75 like Michael Schratt talks about.
Sure.
It always seems that over these war zones, a black triangle seems to appear when things are happening. I mean, could we see anything like that come out of this, Olaf?
Absolutely. And I think the TR3B is a done deal. We all know that TR3B exists. I mean, it's more of, is it using an aerospike or is it using a ramjet? I mean, we can argue about its propulsion system, but we all know it's there. I mean, it was after Gulf War I that we were like, hey, the F-117 is real, because people were like, oh yeah, I'm watching it bomb Baghdad right now, So I think, yeah, absolutely. He may very well use this as a warning to the Iranians. And again, if those reports about explosions occurring inside of Iran right now are real, this is the maximal time to apply pressure. We've got 2 carrier battle groups, one in place, one very close. We've got a train of munitions going into Saudi Arabia and other places. I mean, they're gearing up to attack them. So maybe he comes out and says UAPs can dematerialize your nuclear reactors like at will. It'd be a good time to do that. They would back down.
Bob, I want to bring you back in here for a second because, we do talk about the difference on this show between UAP and UFO. Let's focus on the UFO side of things right now. if the United States government does have secrets on this, like we all think they do, okay, are they going to be able to potentially call out the private companies who could allegedly have the craft and the bodies from crash retrievals? Are they going to be able to call out that information, or because they are private companies, they are going to be completely silent from this topic?
One of the reasons I want him to say, you are released from your obligations under these special access programs and are allowed to testify to Congress in a secure facility. Then that kind of secret will come out. So, and on the, just for 1 second on the UAP and the TR-3B, I've had 3 of them fly right over this house, headed over to Aberdeen Proving Grounds. Do I think we don't have them? You're damn right we have them, because they fly over my house and go to Aberdeen Proving Grounds. Okay, so we have these things. I'm sick of us lying to the American people about what we've got. We ought to tell them the truth. And on UFOs, you know, Dave, I know everybody in this business that's done anywhere and been with anybody knows there are weird craft that fly through our skies that we do not even come close to have the ability to construct a thing a mile wide. Going down the road here towards Bel Air, gigantic round cloud in the sky, and just over the top of the cloud, you can see the edge of the craft over a mile wide. I have a photo of it. We have craft here that we can't build. Those are UFOs. We have stuff here that we've learned stuff and we've built them ourselves, and we fly them, and they're triangular spacecraft with weird lights underneath them, and they fly absolutely silently, like fast as lickety split, and you can't even hear a sound out of them. We have those, and they're real, and I've seen them with my own 2 eyes, and nobody's going to tell me any different.
I've seen them too, Bob.
Well, you can go onto our website and get your UAP, UFO, Know the Difference t-shirts. You know,
good plug. Good plug, Dave.
Absolutely. For people just coming to tune in, we're going to be going until the top of the hour on our special here on Spaced Out Radio with our panel of Science Bob, Olaf Phillips, Lee Strauss, and myself over the news of Donald Trump earlier today saying that he wants the Pentagon and the government to release all UFO, UAP files, and he separated UFO and UAP. Lee, let's get your opinion. What do you see happening on the UFO side of things?
Most likely, Dave, he'll come out and say, you know what, Roswell did happen. Yeah, there was some possible aliens there. He's going to say, I need the government or whoever to release this information so that we can get it out to you people. But as we have seen with other files that have been released recently, it comes out in drips and drabs, and there's stuff that is obfuscated from those files. And I'm concerned that it's going to be that same sort of thing, that we're not going to get the full picture, and it's going to be a small soundbite, and the rest of it's going to be everybody like you and I and Science Bob and Olaf here talking about, well, what does he mean? There's going to be more questions, I think, than answers here.
We can probably help and provide some leadership in the interpretation. We should.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you're going to get.
Let's go back a little bit here, guys, because one of the things that I want to talk about is, let's go back to what Barack Obama says by aliens are real. He was asked a personal question. I don't see that as being him giving classified information like Trump said today. I think Trump was using that as the bait card in order to get it out. Do any of you, and you could jump in, do any of you believe that what Obama said during that podcast, that aliens are real? You know, they're not at Area 50. He doesn't believe they're not at Area 51. There is no deep underground facilities in Area 51. He is the guy who actually announced during his presidency, he was the first president to confirm Area 51 existed. Olaf, I want to start with you on this one because I know you're familiar with it. But
Sure.
do you think, first and foremost, that Barack Obama did something that he shouldn't have by breaking code, by saying the aliens are real?
I don't think so, because he did the same thing. I mean, at the beginning of your show, you play the Reagan speech about if we're all humans, right? I mean, Reagan did it, you know, Clinton did it, George Bush Sr. did it, W did it, you know, Obama did it, all before today. You know, Carter did it. They've all kind of said it, right? So I don't, all he said is, I think aliens are real. Well, the Vatican said they think aliens are real too. Did they break any kind of a classification? What he did was being very careful that if he did, he said it in his capacity as a U.S. citizen, he said, I think they're real. I don't think they're in Area 51. You know, that mirrors what a lot of U.S. citizens think, right? He didn't say, well, S4 is not part of Area 51, but S4 is real and there's vehicles there, and Lazar was telling the truth, or, you know, or a UFO crashed at Roswell, or there was one that crashed in Mexico that we brought home on 2 Jolly Green Giants. I mean, he didn't talk about any of that stuff, right?
Well, let's play the
So
clip.
I think it was bait.
For editorial purposes, let's play the clip so we can remind everybody here.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the president of the United States.
But remember, hold on. He says very specifically, very, very specifically, they're not at Area 51. There's no massive underground facility at Area 51. Anybody who knows anything about this is not going to tell you that there's a bunch of alien bodies at Area 51 in some deep vault. The guys that work at Area 51 have come out and said there's no big underground bunker in Area 51. It's not at Area 51. It's 10 miles away at S4. So he didn't point. Yeah, he didn't. And, you know, everything that Lazar talked about, which Lazar has been perfectly consistent since 1989. Okay, so over 20 years, the guys told the same story over and over with Jeremy Corbell by himself on Art Bell. You know, he tells the same fucking story, that it's at S4, it's like 7 or 10 miles away. And Obama was very, very detailed and very clear, and he didn't violate anything at all. Right. So what that makes Trump's statement is bait. And Trump is, I will commend the man. He is very good at baiting all of us and the news. And also remember that the guy who asked him that question was from Fox News, right? So there's a long record of him being very tight with those guys, Steve Doocy and the rest of them. You know, so this is a calculated maneuver. Somebody inside of his operation called up Fox News and said, make sure Steve Doocy's sitting in the front row. Make sure, this is how they do this. Make sure he's sitting in the front row. Make sure he asks me this pretty much exact question so that I can respond. That's exactly what happened. And he baited us. And I don't think we'll see anything about UFOs and aliens. I think you guys are right. Now that I think about it, I think we're going to see something about some sort of defense capability on a UAP. But I think that what Obama said was true. He never saw them.
Obama did come out shortly after on his Instagram and basically tried to play it. Everybody's blowing it out of context of what I said. Okay.
But you'd expect that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he said, I didn't see anything. He never said I didn't hear anything. He's a very smart man. And he's a lawyer, very careful about what he says. I didn't see anything. It's not at Area 51. If it's at Area 51, they never told me about it. There's no big underground base. It was all Area 51. They didn't talk about White Sands. They didn't talk about S4. They didn't talk about Dugway. They didn't talk about any of the other multitude of places, Autech, multiple places that they could store. Guantanamo Bay. I mean, anywhere they could have stored Greenland. Who knows, you know? I had to throw Greenland in there.
Well, I mean, the fact is, this story is now out there. And if we replay the timeline once again, Mark Christopher Lee, a UK documentarian, comes out, Bob, and he says, hey, there's going to be this announcement right after the 4th of July, probably on the 79th anniversary of Roswell. And Trump is going to announce that UFOs and aliens are real. The speech has already been written. Then he comes out and states that he is going to have his key eyewitness, his source on this, which is close to the White House, is going to come to a press conference and announce how true this is. Then he moves the date up from July 8th to May 1st. Then Laura Trump gets involved in this topic in her podcast. Obama comes out and says what he does. Now today we have Donald Trump coming out and making the statement that he is going to, on Air Force One, that he is going to release the UFO files to Peter Doocy, a reporter who asked the question. I mean, this is a whirlwind. I mean, this is, if there was a path to some sort of controlled disclosure, Bob, this would be it.
This doesn't resemble what I call controlled disclosure. There's too many balls in the air. There's too many things going cuckoo. I don't think this was anticipated by anyone who wanted control, because Trump is completely unpredictable. He drives the people in the intelligence community crazy. He tells things about DOD operations that no other president will ever do. I mean, it's telling you, he is not controllable. And so whatever their plan was from some limited disclosure is now pretty much out the window.
Lee, let's bring you in. Your thoughts.
Well, I've listened to Donald Trump quite a few times, and he always, when he starts to ad-lib things, that's when you gain that extra information. You hear it from time to time when he was talking about the capabilities of the F-47, and it's all its little drones, the little things that he hinted upon that maybe he wasn't supposed to tell or talk about, but yet he did. So that's kind of where I put this whole thing with Mr. Doocy from Fox News. I put that kind of in that same thing where maybe he let out a little bit more than he had planned to, but that's because I think maybe this is already out there. You know, the news is already jumping all over it, and X has been jumping all over it, you know, for the last month. So
what I'm very interested in seeing right now, which I haven't seen on X yet, doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I haven't seen our usual UFO suspects like Chris Mellon or Lou Elizondo or David Grush or any of these people comment on this yet. Do you think that's by design, Bob?
Yeah, I think it probably is. I think the way the entire Trump family's kind of got on the act, I think they amongst themselves have something coordinated. So I just, you know, but we're all out here guessing. I'm enjoying guessing just like everybody else is. What I am certain of is all of this hullabaloo is going to get us something out of Donald Trump on this. We're going to get something out of him. I hope it's more than we think it might be.
We only got about 7 minutes left before we have to wrap this up tonight. Our panel, Lee Strauss of Element 115, our resident scientist, Science Bob McGuire, and our resident conspiracy plaid-wearing gentleman, Olaf Phillips, is here as well. Gentlemen, as we move forward, because this is now a topic that's going to get at least 3 days play in the media, at least 3 days, because let's face it, a week from now, nobody's going to give a care. What do we see now happening, Lee, in the movement forward? What comes tomorrow? What comes over the weekend? Because usually things like this in the media are released on a Friday afternoon. So that way you have the weekend to bury it. Okay. But here we are on a Thursday talking about it.
Well, I think what you're going to see now is people coming to the thought that maybe they need to tell the public what they know. If Donald Trump is willing to come out and say things about the reality of this stuff, maybe you're going to see people really questioning their NDAs and that sort of stuff and wondering, maybe I should come forward.
How about you, Olaf?
I think that all the usual suspects like the Chris Mellons of the world, I think they're going to sit on it and see what he does. Then they'll decide whether they want to violate not only an NDA, which is really not what you're interested in. They'd have to violate their national security clearance oaths of secrecy. So I think it's a bit much bigger thing, but I think they're just going to sit on it. I think that Trump's going to ride it for all he can, especially if you know Science Bob and Lee are correct, which I suspect they might be about him releasing some sort of capability, especially Bob. If he does the capability, he's gonna ram it down the throat of the Iranians, the Cubans, the Venezuelans, everybody else he's trying to start a brush fire war with. So, but I think all the usual guys are going to be silent because they need to see what he does. They don't want
Bob?
to go to prison.
They're going to be. I'm with Olaf. They're going to be completely reactive. So what the ultimate outcome is, and if anybody cares, you need to be on the horn and in the email and in the actual snail mail to your congressman and senator demanding disclosure while this hoopla has the entire world's attention, because that's when Congress might actually do something. This is the kind of hell raising we needed when we had those hearings. Now you might get the UAP Disclosure Act added suddenly on some bill. This is the kind of thing you need.
We only have about 4 minutes left, guys, and I want to get to this important subject. Lee, we'll start with you. And that is this a cover-up? We've touched on it earlier on in the show, but we haven't gone deep. Is this a cover-up for other happenings in the world, whether it's the Epstein files, whether it's Iran, whether it's Ukraine, Russia, or other things that are going on, tariffs, Canada, you name it? Could this be the distraction cover that he needs in order to make whatever he needs to do happen?
One of the things that I've realized over the years, and I've heard other people touch on this, that if you add so much stuff into the public eye, all of a sudden people get confused. You know, there's just so much going on right now, and there's not one thing to focus on because everything is a major situation. And all of that does is it starts to numb people. And they start to, I'm just going to turn off the news because it's just too much. And people have daily lives to go about, right? And how are we to discern or figure out, what's most important to us? It's there's just too much. It's way too much.
I agree. Olaf Phillips, your final word.
Yeah, I think it serves multiple purposes. I think if he does do a UAP disclosure for a capability, it'll put the fear of God into the Russians and the Chinese. I think it also distracts from Iran and Venezuela and Cuba. And, I think it distracts from Epstein. I mean, again, Andrew Windsor, Mountbatten Windsor got arrested for the first royal member to be arrested since 1647. So, and people are quitting all over the place due to it. So I think it serves multiple purposes.
Yep.
Science Bob.
I just think we want to hope that we get something good out of it and hope nothing happens that distracts him from all of this. And we don't have a bunch of dead 18-year-olds over in the Middle East. And so I'm just hoping we get something good out of it and not something negative out of it.
Hear to that.
My final words on this topic is this. I'm shocked by what happened today. I'm shocked by the announcement. I still don't believe that full disclosure will happen. I think in the next few days and months, as paperwork and files get released, we could see more JFK style of information with a lot of black lines and a lot of redacted commentary going on. I want people to understand, every time I've said that there is a difference between UFO and UAP, I wasn't doing that to whine or complain. It was observations along with information that I got from people in the know and sources of mine. We saw the tweet, or I guess the post by Donald Trump today, who separated the two, which should convince you that UAP are something completely different than what we love in UFOs. UAP are some exotic technologies out there. I think that's what we're going to get. We may get one or two pieces. We're not going to get all the toys that actually matter to humanity bettering itself for at least the time being, if not more. I think the cover-up will still happen on UFOs and aliens, and we'll see what gets released. It is a time will tell thing, you know, and once again, I tell our audience to be cautiously optimistic, you know, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and hopefully something good comes out of this. Maybe it will be Roswell. We're going to wrap up the panel. I want to say a big thank you to Olaf Phillips and Science Bob and Lee Strauss coming on very short notice. We will be getting to our show in an hour's time. Yes, this isn't just it. This isn't our show for tonight. We will get to it. We're going to, first 2 hours, talk about some monsters from First Nations monster hunter Travis Willier-Moostooth. In hour 3, the UFO wizard Josh Rutledge will talk to us about this subject once again. So I encourage you all to tune in. I encourage all of you to give us a thumbs up, share this show. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring this breaking news to you on Spaced Out Radio. I will see you in an hour's time. For the rest of you, keep pumping that information. Keep sharing it with all of us. And thank you very much for being a part of this absolutely amazing day. We'll talk to you soon.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.